and welcome back. And today we have a sea theme, and you could say I really splashed out on this one. Before we get started, I bought myself a new set of chameleon powders. That's the Alexis ones, and I decided to make samples of them. So I thought, whilst I'm doing that, I might as well do it for all my collections so that I get a better idea of what they look like and which colours are good to choose. Look at that. This is a fantastic mould. Beautiful details. It is a bit expensive to buy, but it's well worth the investment. So, here goes the fun part. Enjoy. So the important part of this project is when you're using the mica powders, try and clean up as much as you can. That way you don't get sort of interference from other colours. You're trying to keep it pure so that you just get that colour. So keep doing little bits of clean up now and then. Been working on this Seahorse for a while now, as you could probably tell from the nail changes. I did a first iteration of it, and I wasn't happy with what I mounted it on, so I scrapped that first backing that I did, which was a disaster, and I went with a different backing to mount the Seahorse on. So the Seahorse I only did once, thank goodness, because it takes forever to put the mica powder on. But it's worth the time. And you don't have to sit and suffer real time. You can see the bionic me doing the mica powders. It is a quite time-consuming project, but I actually like doing the mica powders. I find it kind of relaxing, just sort of rubbing in the mica powders, taking my time. But yeah, patience is a virtue with this one. As I say, all the cleaning up really pays off. That way you don't get a contamination of other colours. You try and keep it, you know, as pure as you can for each colour. Thing I love about this Seahorse, which my husband found for me. He found me this mould on Etsy, so you've got him to thank for this. I was looking for a Seahorse mould to do this project, but I couldn't find any that I really fell in love with. And when he showed me this one, I thought, oh wow, I love the way that the scales come down and you can actually see the depth in them. Oh, it's fabulous. I love it. Probably won't be the last time you see this mould in a project, but I'll have to get the old, you know, thinking cap on for what to do next. But it's so detailed and it deserves chameleon mica powder. So yeah, doing a little sample set of my chameleon mica powders really helped. You can actually see what colour they'll really be when you put the black resin behind them. So that was a useful thing to do. When you put the mica powders in these little spines, whatever they are, make sure that you work them in with the brush really well. Try and get it up the sides and everything. I know you're probably saying, Ria, you know, these pigmented mica powders, they're such good quality. Why are you dumping so many coffee spoons in the resin? I don't know. I just want to make absolutely sure. But you can see it's good quality. And the fun part. Again, as you invested a lot of time putting the mica powders on and making sure you get it in all the little nooks and grannies, do the same with the resin, because there are some really tiny spaces in there. The little fins down towards the tail and the little points on the end of the tail. Just make sure that you get all the resin in all those spots. And because you've got mica powder on the mold, you can't really get anything like a micro brush in there or a resin or a silicone tool to move it around, because you would remove the mica. And I was so excited, I couldn't wait. A little bit fragile when you unmold it, so be careful. I was being very careful, very gentle with him. And that is just fantastic. The scales on that, just fantastic. And he's so thin. He's got a nice thin aspect. This is why it was good for mounting on the plate. But yeah, I love this mold. Very pleased. And now this will be the plate, you know, what he's mounted on. These are the colours I used. And it's funny because when you do a project, you sort of have an idea in your mind of what it will look like on the front. But quite often, no, it's not very good on the front and it's better on the back. And I often find that when you use glitter, because the glitter sinks to the bottom and it doesn't always give the effect you hope for. So, unmoulding. see what I mean in a minute. Now that was going to be the front. That's what I was going to use. But I didn't like it. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't look good. So I thought, well, I like the back better. So that's what I went with. And I like the way on the back that it's sort of, all the blue colours sort of radiate out from the centre rather than this. I didn't really like that. So yes, as you can see, I used what was the back. It looked more natural to me. So here I am trying to, with my shaky hand, squeeze this UV resin out of the bottle into one of these little bottles, and I did pull off the little metal nozzle on the small bottle because I couldn't get the UV resin to come through. So all I'm doing here is just laying down a thin flat layer of UV resin. You want to try and keep it as flat as possible, and layering up my, I know they're ferns, but I couldn't find anything that I really liked, because my idea was to make everything flat apart from the seahorse and the fish. I wanted them to have the 3D aspect. But I couldn't find anything in the plant section that was sort of flat enough. And then I came across these and thought, well, why not? To act as my plants. So that's all I did. I just put a little bit of UV resin on the silicone mat, layered up my plants, hit it with the UV light, and just kept going, you know, until I'd done all my little batches of plants. Again, this is something else that takes a while, so I didn't want to make you sit and suffer the whole process. For those of you who may know my sad tale of how allergic I am to epoxy resin, for some reason I am not allergic to UV resin. So the constituent chemicals in both obviously differ, because I can get the UV resin on my hands and it doesn't bring me out in horrible itchy rash. And as you can see, I put my seahorse and my fish on to give me some sort of idea of how far up to put the plants, because I'm going to put this sand on the bottom. Yeah, so just keep building up with your little groups of sea plants. I just did the first group so that you can actually see the process in real time of what I did. Not difficult, just kind of fiddly, a bit time consuming. So there's all my little groups of plants stuck together. Put the background on my level surface and very gently coaxed the resin over the plants. They're quite delicate, so don't, shove them around too much. Try and use your silicone tools that are gentle. And invest a little bit of time in pushing them down, the plants, because in resin, light things, they will float. You can't avoid it. And make sure that your resin comes up to the edge, so you've got that nice domed effect. Yeah, I used up nearly all that resin, so I don't want to push my luck with dropping the last little bit in. So today's project involves a little bit of painting and sticking stuff on, and I thought instead of wearing the normal T-Rex suit, I bought myself a little apron. I think you might appreciate it. I saw this on Amazon. It tickled my fancy. So this is my non-resin kit. So as you can see, the little plants did come to the surface, and it annoyed me because I wanted this to be perfection. So I sanded it just gently. Yep, and as you can see, I poured on another clear coat of resin. I'm living on the edge with this one because I didn't know if, having already put that resin down and not having much surface tension because now the edges are curved, I could foresee the whole lot going over the edge. But no, it worked out fine. So you may have to sand yours a little bit if you use those little ferns for your plants. Don't go crazy, just sand it lightly so that you just take off the surface. And this works beautifully, putting the resin on. In effect, it's a top coat, but it works well, as you will see. It also gives a little bit more depth because now you've put the plants under another layer to separate from the seahorse and the fish, so it just gives another layer of depth. Happy accident. So again, make sure you take all the resin to the edge and pray. Oh, there's my little fishies. Oh, there's my little fishies. Did a little bit of clean up on them around the edges where there was a little bit of overspill with the resin. And they don't come out shiny because you've used mica powder. And I had some kind of a mark, I don't know what it was. It just looked like a wave in the water, so that's what I'm going with. Down here is where I'm going to put some sand. And I'm using UV resin, just mixing it up. When you put your sand down, try to put it down so that it looks as if the plants are growing, you know, out of the sand. Catch any little bits that go over the edge. You see what I mean about the background on that? How it looks more natural. And luckily for me, the way that it radiates out, it looks like sunlight coming through the water. So that was a happy accident. I think it was Bob Ross that said, "There are no mistakes, only happy little accidents." And he was right. Pearls going on. I bought these pearls because I thought they matched the colour of the mica powder that I used in the Seahorse. And where I placed my Seahorse was the perfect place, so I used cocktail sticks as marker points so that I could put him back more or less in the same place. Another handy tip there. And this is the glue that I like. I build miniature houses as well, miniature kits from Amazon, and that's the crafting glue I like. It's a 3-in-1. I'll put it in the supplies list. A lot of people prefer, what is it called, the E6000, but that upsets my sinuses. I can't use that stuff, it stinks. So that's why I use this glue. It's a crafter's glue, dries clear. It also dries, when it dries, it has a slightly rubbery effect. So if you get any over the edge of a project, you can just rub it off with your finger and tidy up your edges nicely. Tarted up my fish a bit with some gold pen and did their little eyes with the Sharpie. And as I say, because you've used mica powder, they don't come out of the mold shiny. Now, the mica powder on the Seahorse looks a bit shinier. That might be down to the quality of the mold, which was very high quality. So decorated up my little fish a bit. And I decided with my fish to have them pointing in the same direction as the seahorse. So I use the same trick with the cocktail sticks for keeping the position of the fish, because I put them in exactly the right place. I wanted to keep them there as close as possible, and they act as a perfect guideline. And he's all finished. As I say, this project did take some time to do, but I'm very happy, and as I say, I'm really glad I put that second coat of resin on, because it gives a good perspective with the plants now. You can see it's more of a 3D effect. So yeah, very happy with it. So I also bought this photo stand to display the project, and it was strong enough to hold the project up, long enough to take some photos. But I'm probably going to buy myself a metal stand, because this piece does weigh quite a bit. I might use this stand for another project I'm doing at the moment. See if it can hold that. The stand did come out well, and look how clear that is. The Let's Resin works for me. Nice and clear. It took me a little while to figure out how this actually went together, because the only thing that keeps this together is two little bumps, literally two little like knobs, and you just snap it in. Plus it was still a little bit on the flexible side, it needed a little bit more curing, but even after it had cured a little bit more and hardened up, it still wasn't, you know, strong enough to hold the project. But it's a good stand, and as I say, I'll be using it in another project. Hopefully I'll be able to hold that up. And there we are. So there we have it. Finished project. I must say this is really heavy, and that's why I'm going to buy myself a metal stand, because that plastic one, it stayed up long enough, as I said, for the photo to be taken, but this is a weighty piece. And you can see how thick it is, and I really enjoyed making it. It was fairly expensive to make purely because of the cost of the mould, but it's one of the biggest pieces I've ever made, and I'm really happy with it. It's a proper project. And in things to come on my channel, I'm going to be making a few simple things, and then every now and again I'm going to invest time in doing something like this that's a little bit more involved, a little bit more of a project. In fact, I'm working on one right now. So you'll get all kinds of things coming up that comes from the old brain box. I hope you enjoy them. Come and join me, find out what I'm doing. Until next time, thanks for being here. Bye for now.